Hi, everybody. This is Marc Bates. This is the Rabbit Room Apologetics channel, and appreciate you joining us. So, when we ended up last time, we were talking about Moses. Did Moses write the Torah? And I left you with a question to think about. What was Moses' reasons for writing it the way he did? Okay, this all goes into context. So, a couple things. We talked about the fact that the children of Israel came out of 400 years of bondage in Egypt, right? Where they were exposed to, if not pretty much under the rule of these pagan kings, right, in Egypt, and their beliefs. And they would have been influenced by the other ancient Near Eastern beliefs on this. This would be the Akkadian, the Babylonian, or the the Chaldean, right? The Canaanite, the Egyptians, and several others, right? And their beliefs. And so the question here is, what was Moses' purpose in putting this down? So he's got these people, 400 years enslaved. He's brought them out, and I propose, I'm not saying I'm correct, I propose that there's a basic question that's being asked. Okay, Moses, God pulled us out of Egypt. God did the Red Sea and all this, but who is God? Tell us more, please. Why us? And why are we going to where we're going? And basic things like that, right? So, I would say we start with what people know. And what people are familiar with are going to be the Egyptian, Canaanite, Akkadian, right? Chaldean, right? Creation stories, because this is who God is, right? This tells you who God is. So let's start with at the very beginning, right? Moses is trying to explain this to everybody. Now, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is very different from the creation stories of Ra from Egypt, the creation stories of Baal from the Chaldeans and the Canaanites, right? The Akkadian and creation legends, right? Of Murdoch, because they have Earth already being there essentially, or at least something being there that their gods pull the land up out of from the water, from the deep, and then they create the people, and that's where it goes. I mean, that's essentially it. I'm giving you a really short version of that, right? So that's what the people who were around Egypt or Israelites for 400 years were working with, right? And that's what the Israelites were exposed to. So now we got to start with who you are and why are you special? So special that God pulls you out of Egypt. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Pop, okay? This is different. Murdoch didn't create the heavens and the earth, right? Baal didn't create the heavens and the earth. Ra didn't create the heavens and the earth. God created the heavens and the earth. That separates what Moses is telling the children of Israel who they are from everyone else. Okay, now, but let's keep this within the context of what they might be familiar with. Now the earth was formless and empty. Net Bible talks about now the earth was without shape and empty, right? We got that. You've heard the terms Tohu and Bohu, right? Tohu and Bohu, right? Shape, empty, right? Formless and void, right? Empty. This is a description of essentially a chaotic environment, right? So what we want to talk about here, let's see what the Net Bible translators talked about, right? Here, when we're getting this, let me get down here a little bit, right? So, first thing is, did I have anything on Tohu and Bohu? Yeah, here we go. Tohu and Bohu, right? A more literal rendering of waste and void, right? The words describe a condition as without form and empty. Okay. And there was actually an unfilled mass covered by water and darkness, right? Tohu, Bohu, right? This is how the ancient cultures also describe this essentially. This is what would be chaotic, right? Chaos, right? And you've heard me say in some of my other videos that the idea should be God bringing order out of chaos, right? And so Tohu and Bohu would be a chaotic environment, okay? The other thing I want to make sure is very important here is that the term create, right, which is the Hebrew word bara, always describes the divine activity of fashioning something new, fresh, and perfect, right? It does not describe necessarily creation out of nothing, right? But often stresses forming anew, right? So bara is not fresh, brand new creation. It is recreating. So if we get back here, now the earth was without shape and empty, right? But in the beginning, God created. So he drew everything together and he created it. And the earth started tohu, bohu, right? Without shape and empty, right? And then, and darkness was over the surface of the watery deep. Very important consideration here. Darkness, right? There's no light. And I want you to immediately start thinking at the end of the Bible, in Revelation, in the new heaven, new earth, right? The new Jerusalem. There is no sun, right? But there's no darkness either, right? The light comes from Christ alone. Christ, God, is all the light. And that's direct opposition to this idea of the chaos that starts with the first introduction here of the creation, right? Of the tohu, bohu, right? The creation, the emptiness, without shape, without form, right? That's basically chaos, darkness. And the watery deep is very important because all of the other ancient Near Eastern creation myths have their gods pulling land and creatures out of the deep. And the deep is constant throughout the Bible, where in Hebrew they talk about the wilderness being something that's wild without order to it. The oceans are chaotic because you can't control the oceans. Only God can control the oceans, right? God provides the order. And so this is one of the big separations that Moses is immediately setting up, which immediately sets up how we interpret the rest of the Bible, right? So you start there, right? In the beginning, God created, right? And it was without shape and void, which is this chaotic environment. And there was darkness over the face of the deep. Deep, it represents chaos, right? And that's where we want to stop there. So Moses is telling the children of Israel that God created this, right? And that's where we want to stop today. And we'll re-enter this again tomorrow. But the idea is that God created it. It wasn't there before, right? And all the other creation myths, which, skeptics will say, oh, but, Genesis sounds just like the Akkadian one, right? Or it sounds just like Ra a bit, or it sounds like the Chaldean Murdoch stories, right? Yeah, it sounds like it because that's the context that the children of Israel knew. And Moses is refuting the pagan origin myths and recreating them using the trueness of God being the creator, right? And that sets up the rest of the Bible. So this is going to be the foundation. This is going to be the very foundation of the rest of all of our Bible study, is that God created heaven and earth, that there was chaos and there's darkness over the face of the watery deep. And that's all representative of chaos and a lack of order. And then everything else proceeds from that. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. If you like this, please like the video, subscribe, share it with a friend. Also, check out the description. There is 2 links I would love you to click on. One is a link to my Bible study where you can join. We try to keep that cost as low as possible. It's currently $10 a month. I provide a lot more material in there that I don't put on YouTube, and there's discussions and forums and other things that you can get involved with, and we do live calls as often as we can so that you can get involved, right? So that's there. The other thing, and the cost helps us keep everything running. And the other one is a link to Logos. If you like what I'm doing with Logos and you like how this is, and you're not using Logos, that link provides you an access to Logos and a discount. And a discount's always good, right? All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you very soon.